headlines are being formed in Washington, D.C. over one of the biggest controversies in science in recent years, the cloning of human embryos. On one side, a number of U.S. senators who say that cloning human tissue could help cure a variety of diseases. On the other, President Bush and other U.S. senators who say there should be a total ban on human cloning. So here's the issue. Have you ever been so busy that you said to yourself, there needs to be more than one me, maybe 3 or even 4 of me? But of course, cloning is no joking matter. It's a big political issue.
I believe all human cloning is wrong, and both forms of cloning ought to be banned for the following reasons. First, anything other than a total ban on human cloning would be unethical. No human life should be exploited or extinguished for the benefit of another.
Yesterday, President Bush spoke to medical researchers, members of Congress, and ministers, and called on the Senate to ban all forms of human cloning. The House of Representatives already voted to ban human cloning last year. The president said science must not rush ahead without what he called an ethical compass.
Advances in biomedical technology must never come at the expense of human conscience. As we seek what is possible, we must always ask what is right. And we must not forget that even the most noble ends do not justify any means.
When it comes to cloning humans, there's widespread agreement on one point. Cloning should not be used to create human beings. But a number of senators, led by Senate Democratic leader Tom Daschle, support the cloning of human tissue. Daschle says if the cloning of tissue is allowed, cures could be found for diseases such as Alzheimer's and diabetes.
Whether or not we do depends on whether or not we will have the research and the ability to provide scientists the opportunity to find those cures soon.
I met with Miriam Kotler, head of the Health Sciences Department at California State University in Northridge, to find out more about the debate. She acknowledges that there are medical benefits to cloning, especially for an illness like diabetes.
Diabetes is a failure of the pancreas to function well. If we could clone those organs, it would be a marvelous benefit to all kinds of humans all over the world. I would hate to see research on that kind of technology legislated against.
But she also argues that cloning, if not used for the advancement of research, would lead anxious parents to search for a perfect child, raising serious moral and ethical questions.
Would we be prepared to love that baby in and of itself, no matter what it was like? You know, if I want a 6'7" NBA ball player, and I get a shy little girl, do I have the right to be disappointed? Is she worth any less? Is her life any less valuable? I would argue no.
Of course, there's never been a human being cloned, but a company in Massachusetts did announce last November that it cloned a 6-cell human embryo. That technique could be used to harvest stem cells, the basic building blocks of the body that could be used to create organ tissue for research.
And up next, cloning is the topic of today's pop quiz question.
Big brain, big brain, big brain, big brain, yeah. I'm on a plane, I can't complain.
Time for the pop quiz, and it's about cloning. We might not be talking about cloning humans today if not for a very famous animal that was cloned over 5 years ago. So your pop quiz question. What was the first mammal to be cloned from a cell of an adult animal? Here's a hint. Her name is Dolly. Was it A, a sheep, B, a mouse, C, a pig, or was it D, a cow? You have 10 seconds.
Time is up. The answer is A. In 1996, Dolly the sheep was the first mammal to be cloned from an adult cell. Scientists created Dolly at this lab in Great Britain. Here's how it was done. By using a technique called somatic cell nuclear transfer, an egg cell was stripped of its nucleus, which contained the DNA, creating an empty cell. Then, a cell from an adult sheep was fused to that empty egg. The fused cell developed into an embryo, a developing organism, which was implanted into a surrogate sheep. The embryo grew into a lamb genetically identical to the donor sheep. Dolly was the sole survivor of 277 cloning attempts. Last year, Dolly was diagnosed with arthritis, but scientists don't know if the disease is related to the cloning. After Dolly was cloned, a 5-year ban was placed on federal funds for any human cloning project so that the bioethical issues could be reviewed. Now, as we reported earlier, the controversy is back before the U.S. Senate.